That evening, nothing felt off at first. I walked through the front door like I always did, shoulder sore from work, tie stuffed in my jacket pocket, wondering if the leftovers in the fridge had survived the week. Our place smelled like rosemary and something citrusy. Claire had been on a herbal tea kick lately. I figured she was upstairs or still in the kitchen. Her phone was sitting on the living room console, plugged in, screen glowing softly with a slow charge pulse. That was the first weird thing. Probably shouldn't have meant anything, but it did. Claire didn't just leave her phone around. Not anymore. A year ago, sure. Back then, she used to leave it buried in the cushions or charging on the nightstand. She'd even toss it my way sometimes to play a podcast or scroll through dog videos together. That version of us, open, casual, had faded into something quieter, more curated. And the change had started slowly, like the way a song fades out instead of ending. Now, she always kept it on her. Always. Even in the bathroom. Even when she took the trash out. If she wasn't holding it, it was face down, locked, with notifications silenced. So yeah, seeing it just sitting there, unlocked, screen up, that was enough to make me pause. I set my bag down slowly and glanced around. No sign of her. I leaned down to untie my shoes, and just as I did, the phone lit up again. A message came through. One line. It hit me like a brick straight to the chest. Thanks for this morning. The smell of your skin is still in my head. No name. Just a number. I didn't breathe. Didn't blink. Just stared. The words sat there, glowing on her screen, innocent to anyone else, but not to me. Not after the last few months. The context wrote itself and the details didn't matter. Not yet. That single message was louder than any conversation we'd had in weeks. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. A moment later, I heard the faint clink of a spoon against porcelain. She was stirring something. Tea. That explained the smell. Claire walked in, holding 2 mugs, wearing the navy hoodie she always stole from my side of the closet. Barefoot, hair tied up like she'd been home all day. She looked peaceful. But when she saw me standing there, not moving, her eyes followed mine straight to her phone. I saw it then, so fast I almost missed it. Her pupils shifted. Her hand tensed around the handle of the mug just slightly. A half-second of silence, then, "Oh, probably a wrong number," she said, too casually, walking straight past me and placing the mugs on the coffee table. "Spam or something. I've been getting so many lately." Her voice was light, like it was a joke, like it wasn't a text that might have just ended everything. She sat down on the couch and crossed one leg under her, leaning back like nothing had happened. "Honestly, I'm thinking about getting a new number. I should have done it months ago. All these robocalls and texts are so annoying." I looked at her, then at the phone, then back at her. She didn't flinch. Instead, she turned the whole thing inside out like a magician doing sleight of hand. Her smile widened just enough to keep me from interrupting. "How was work today?" she asked. "You looked exhausted this morning. I thought maybe we could do something nice this weekend, like get out of town. Just the 2 of us." Just like that, she pivoted. From a cryptic message that hinted at int asterisk Macy with someone else to my stress level to a weekend trip to us. All in under 30 seconds. I should have said something right then. I should have asked, "Who's the number?" Or, "Why does someone remember the smell of your skin?" But I didn't. I froze. And she saw it. She counted on it. I mumbled something, maybe "sure" or "sounds good." I don't even remember what I said. My voice came out flat, like I was watching someone else live my life from behind glass. Claire kept talking. Something about a hiking spot she found online. She even pulled out her tablet, flipped it around to show me photos of a cabin rental. Her voice got brighter, like she was trying to pull me back into whatever version of reality she wanted me to live in. And honestly, it almost worked. If I hadn't seen the message with my own eyes, I probably would have followed her right into it. But I couldn't unsee it. She never asked why I was staring at her phone. Never asked if something was wrong. She was too fast, too calm. It wasn't defense. It was strategy. She had the playbook ready. A pre-written line. A distraction loaded and aimed before I even knew I was supposed to be looking. And that scared me more than the message itself. Because when someone's guilty, they usually panic. They trip over words. They stall. They react. But Claire? She anticipated. She absorbed the impact like she'd done this before. Like she'd already figured out how to keep me from looking any closer. That's when I knew. Something had been going on for a while. It wasn't just this one message. It wasn't just a stranger's number. It was the fact that she had a story ready. She didn't stumble, didn't flinch, didn't even glance at the phone before explaining it away. She wanted me to focus on the wrong number instead of wondering why she changed her passcode last month. Why she took phone calls on the balcony now. Why her evening runs had suddenly become non-negotiable. Why she'd started wearing perfume to the gym. None of that had clicked before. But now it did. All at once. I sat beside her, nodded at her weekend plan, and smiled like everything was fine. I even made a joke about hiking boots. She laughed. And in that moment, I realized how far we had drifted. This wasn't just about a message. This was about how easily she had learned to lie to me, with tea in one hand and a getaway in the other. She had stopped fearing consequences. Or maybe she'd just stopped believing I'd ever ask for the truth. That night, we watched something on Netflix, some crime drama she'd picked. She curled up next to me, toes tucked under my leg like always. She laughed at all the right moments, asked if I wanted popcorn, even leaned in during the suspense scenes. And I played my part, too. But I wasn't there. Not really. I kept thinking about that message. About the stranger who texted her like they'd shared something physical. Something in asterisk mate, earlier that day. And more than that, I kept thinking about how she'd handled it. Not like someone who made a mistake, but like someone who had experience. Someone who had lied before. The next morning, I woke up before Claire. Her side of the bed was warm, blankets twisted. Her arms still flopped across my chest like nothing had changed. She looked peaceful in her sleep, calm, almost childlike. But it felt artificial now. Like I was watching someone else's wife lying next to me. Someone else's life entirely. I laid there staring at the ceiling, the light from the window hitting the same crack in the plaster I'd meant to fix 2 years ago. That message was still echoing in my head. Thanks for this morning. The smell of your skin is still in my head. 7 words. Not graphic, not explicit, but unmistakable. The more I replayed it, the more I realized I wasn't shocked by it. Not really. I was hurt, yes. But surprised? No. Somewhere deep down, I'd known something was off. I just hadn't wanted to face it. And now, I couldn't not see it. All morning, my brain dug through the last few months like it was scrubbing a crime scene, pulling up fragments I hadn't thought twice about at the time. A month ago, she changed her phone passcode. When I asked her why, she said her account had been compromised. Some phishing email, apparently. She made a big show of installing antivirus apps and using two-factor authentication. I remember thinking, wow, she's really taking this seriously. Except, Claire used to roll her eyes at that stuff. She once told me, if someone wants to hack my boring emails, let them. So why the sudden security obsession? Then I remembered the jogging. Claire hated cardio. Her exact words used to be, I'd rather clean the gutters than run for fun. But suddenly, she was out every evening, wearing brand new leggings and running shoes I hadn't seen before, tracking her steps with a fitness app. She told me it helped her clear her head. I asked once if I could come with her. She laughed, said it was her time. I didn't push it. Now I wondered if she was even jogging at all, or if she was jogging straight into someone else's arms. Another memory hit me mid-toast that morning. She'd started taking work calls on the balcony. Said it was too loud inside with me clattering dishes or watching TV. At first, I thought nothing of it. Gave her space. Even joked that she was turning into one of those high-powered remote execs with secret projects. But every time she came back in, her energy changed. Her posture relaxed. Her eyes were softer, distant, though, like she'd left something out there on the balcony, or left part of herself with someone else. Then there was the tablet. I walked into the bedroom one evening a few weeks ago, and she shut it so fast it made a snapping sound. She smiled too hard and said she was watching a meditation video. Claire hated meditation, said it made her anxious. I remember raising an eyebrow at the time, but I let it slide. I didn't want to be the paranoid husband who couldn't let his wife have privacy. But now it all played differently in my head. Another detail clawed its way back into focus, the cologne. She came home one night smelling like someone else. Not perfume, not anything I recognized. It was masculine, musky, not the kind of scent you pick up accidentally at a grocery store. I asked about it. She said she'd walked past a cologne display and grabbed a sample strip by mistake. Said it stuck to her sleeve. I believed her. Or maybe I just wanted to. And that was the pattern, wasn't it? Each individual thing, the tablet, the jogs, the cologne, the late calls, they were all brushstrokes. On their own, nothing solid. But together, they painted something I couldn't ignore anymore. Pattern. A story. A second life she was carefully constructing right under my nose. I spent most of that day in a kind of daze. We didn't talk much. She was on another all-day strategy call for work, which really meant she sat in the office with the door closed and her headphones on. I caught glimpses of her between calls. Making a smoothie, pacing the hallway, texting someone with quick little thumb taps and a faint smile. That smile used to be mine. That evening I made dinner. Something simple, pasta and roasted vegetables. She said it was great, kissed me on the cheek and offered to do the dishes. I stood there watching her scrub plates, humming to herself, and all I could think was, she's gotten really good at this. The double life. The split-screen existence. She could act like the loving wife and still have that other world waiting. A world I wasn't invited into. And the worst part? I don't know when the shift happened. There was no dramatic argument. No big emotional rift. We hadn't grown apart. Not in the obvious way, at least. We still had our routines, our shows, our favorite pizza place. But under all of that, there had been quiet erosion. Invisible decay. She just stopped bringing me in. And I, like an idiot, didn't notice. Or maybe I did notice and chose not to confront it. I thought back to that night 2 weeks ago when we were at dinner with her friend Ellie. Claire had stepped away to take a call, of course, and Ellie asked how we were doing. I said, good. Busy but good. And Ellie hesitated. Just for a second. Then she said, Claire seems different lately. Not in a bad way. Just distracted. I remember brushing it off, saying work had been stressful. But now I wondered what Ellie had really seen. That night, as Claire was brushing her teeth, I watched her from the hallway. She caught my reflection in the mirror and smiled, toothpaste foaming at the corners of her mouth. What? She asked playfully. I shook my head. Nothing. Just thinking. She rinsed, wiped her mouth, and came over to hug me. I let her. She felt warm, familiar. Her heartbeat thudded against mine, steady. For a split second, I wanted to believe it was all in my head. But I couldn't unknow what I knew. When she left the room, I stood there alone for a long time, staring at my reflection, wondering who I was becoming in all this. The fool? The background character? The guy who makes her tea while she texts someone else? I can still smell you? It wasn't the betrayal that gutted me the most. It was the performance, the precision, the way she had rehearsed how to keep me calm, distracted, unaware. And it had worked. Until now. Later that night, I lay in bed, listening to her breathe. Her phone was on her nightstand, face down as usual. I stared at it for a long time, thought about picking it up, unlocking it, finding the thread, the photos, the truth. But I didn't. Not yet. Because deep down I knew, the moment I crossed that line, everything would change. There'd be no more maybe. No more comfort. No more pretending this was something I could fix with a trip to the mountains or a conversation over wine. Once I knew for sure, there would be no going back. And I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. But soon. The envelope arrived on a Wednesday. That alone shouldn't have mattered. But it did. Wednesday was garbage day. Bills came on Mondays. Ads and junk mail piled up on Saturdays. This envelope didn't belong to any of that. It was white, thick, unmarked. No return address. No logo. Just my name printed cleanly across the front, centered, deliberate. I stood at the mailbox longer than necessary, holding it between my fingers like it might hum or explode. The paper felt heavier than it should have. Dense. Intentional. Inside the house, Claire was on another call. I could hear her through the walls, voice low, controlled, calm in that way she'd perfected lately. I didn't interrupt. I didn't announce myself. I just set the envelope on the kitchen counter and stared at it while the kettle boiled dry behind me. For a full minute, I considered throwing it away. That's the part one don't like admitting. That even after everything, the message, the patterns, the quiet certainty growing in my chest, I still thought about protecting the illusion. Because once you open something like that, you don't get to pretend anymore. Eventually, I sat down and opened it. The contents spilled out in layers. Not messy. Not emotional. Organized. Curated. **TS came first. Text threads, cropped tight, timestamps visible. Her number saved under a name I didn't recognize. The language wasn't explicit, but it was unmistakable. Familiarity. Planning. Jokes that only land when two people have history. One message stopped me cold. Next time, no rushing. I'll cover the story. He didn't suspect. I felt my stomach drop, not because of the words themselves, but because of how casually they were written. Like this wasn't new. Like this was routine. There were booking confirmations next. Flights. 2 seats. Side by side. Her name and another one. Lucas. The dates matched her work seminar from last month. The one she'd complained about nonstop. The one she said drained her. She'd come home relaxed. Then came the photos. The first was in an elevator. Claire leaning back against a man's chest, his arm draped around her waist, his phone lifted for a mirror selfie. Her face was fully visible. Relaxed. Happy. Not surprised. Not guilty. Comfortable. I didn't recognize the man, but I recognized her expression. It was the same one she used to wear with me in the early days. Before things became routine. Before I became safe. The next photo was worse. A hotel room. Dim light. White sheets. Her hair loose. Messy. Her face turned inward. Pressed against someone's neck. Not posed. Candid. And * mate in a way that doesn't lie. The final image included metadata. Location. Date. Time. It wasn't just proof. It was documentation. I sat there for a long time, hands flat on the table, eyes unfocused. The kettle had burned itself empty. The room smelled faintly metallic, and I didn't move. What surprised me wasn't the pain. It was the clarity. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't even an affair in the messy, impulsive sense people like to forgive. It was a system. Someone had taken the time to plan this, to align schedules, to invent stories, to coordinate lies, to make sure I stayed exactly where I was, trusting, predictable, useful. I gathered everything back into the envelope just as Claire walked into the kitchen. She smiled when she saw me, asked if I wanted lunch, kissed my cheek. Her hand rested on my shoulder for half a second too long. I didn't flinch. I didn't confront her, because something in me had shifted. This wasn't about catching her anymore. It wasn't about answers or closure or even anger. That envelope had done its job. It removed all doubt. Now it was about control. That night, after she went to sleep, I opened my laptop and made copies. Digital backups. Cloud storage. Time-stamped folders. I labeled everything clearly, unemotionally. Evidence doesn't need feelings. I slid the original envelope into a drawer beneath old tax documents and warranties. Some were boring. Some were safe. Then I lay down beside her, stared at the ceiling, and listened to her breathe. She slept peacefully. I didn't, because now I knew exactly who she was. And she had no idea who I was about to become. I didn't confront her. That might be the part people don't understand. They expect a scene, a blow-up, demands, screaming, tears, something that makes the betrayal loud. But that wasn't me. Not anymore. That envelope had done something to me. Not just revealed the truth, but clarified my role. I wasn't the husband anymore. I was the mark, the character she needed to stay still while she lived her other life. She never thought I'd look too closely, never thought I'd step outside the script she wrote for me. So I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I played my part. Perfectly. Right up until I stopped playing altogether. The plan began that Friday. She was out on one of her late work dinners. And I knew she wouldn't be back until at least 10. I had hours. Enough time to make the first move. I drove across town to a quiet apartment complex I'd found online. Nothing fancy, just clean, quiet, month-to-month lease. It was the kind of place you disappear into. The manager asked no questions when I said I needed something discreet and temporary. She handed me the keys with a smile and said, "You'd be surprised how many people ask for that." I didn't tell anyone. No friends. No family. Not yet. This wasn't about support. It was about control. About building something she didn't even know existed until I was already gone. That night I bought a second phone. Burner style. New number. New contacts. Just one synced calendar, one secure drive, and a password no one but me would ever know. I called the bank next. Quietly set up a new account. Transferred small amounts at a time. Just enough not to trigger alarms or raise flags. It would take a few weeks to fully separate things. I had time. She wasn't looking. Each night I took something with me. One book. A framed photo. Important documents. Sentimental things first. Then practical. I packed like I was evacuating during a slow, silent storm. Always late at night after she fell asleep. She never noticed. Or maybe she did and just didn't care. That was the thing. The more I watched her, the more convinced I became that she had already detached from this life. She went through the motions, but her eyes were elsewhere. Always just behind me. Always beyond the moment. We still had coffee every morning. She still kissed my forehead on the way out the door. Still sent me memes during meetings. But none of it felt anchored. It was like watching a movie on mute. She never asked questions. Never wondered why I seemed more organized. More deliberate. Never noticed that I started doing laundry in smaller loads or that the office shelf looked emptier by the week. Some nights, she'd come home in a haze, drop her bag, and say she was exhausted. She'd shower for a long time, then crawl into bed smelling like hotel soap. I stopped asking questions, because I already had the answers. The only thing I didn't have yet was timing. When do you leave someone who thinks they've won? When do you step away from someone who doesn't realize they've already lost you? The answer came during a random Tuesday lunch break. I was at a bookstore near the office, K*ling time, flipping through an old paperback when I overheard two women talking at the cafe counter. One of them said, "If he's already making a backup plan, it's already over." She was talking about her friend's boyfriend. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. But those words settled into me like wet cement. I realized then, it was already over. I wasn't preparing to leave. I had already left. The rest was just logistics. That night, I opened a private P.O. box. Changed the delivery addresses for every important account, bank statements, insurance, credit cards. One by one, I closed the loops. I took photos of everything I might need in court. The screenshot *TS from the envelope, synced and timestamped. The metadata from the hotel photo. The airline confirmation under her name. All saved. All backed up. No threats. No drama. Just a quiet, surgical detachment. I even started therapy. Not for grief. For clarity. It helped. Talking to someone who didn't know Claire. Who didn't offer platitudes or outrage. Just clean, practical questions. Why did you stay this long? What do you need to feel free? What does your life look like without her? The answers surprised me. Freedom didn't look like rage. It looked like peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing you have nothing left to prove. That you saw the truth, accepted it, and made a plan not to stay bitter, but to survive it better. By the third week, my new apartment was fully furnished. Minimalist. Clean. Just a couch, a bed, and shelves of books I actually cared about. No trace of her. I started sleeping there most nights. I'd leave early before she woke up. Come back late with an excuse about work. Sometimes I'd spend the night just walking the neighborhood. sipping gas station coffee, letting the quiet settle in my bones. She didn't notice, or pretended not to. It didn't matter. We were ghosts now, sharing a home in name only, sleeping in the same bed like passengers in different time zones, talking, laughing, even touching, but never connecting. Once, I watched her from the bedroom doorway as she sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone, her face lit by the screen. She laughed at something, typed fast, deleted, typed again, smiled. That smile wasn't mine anymore. And the strange part? I didn't feel jealousy. I felt distance, like watching someone from the other side of a window. I checked our shared calendar later that night and saw a block of time labeled client dinner. I didn't ask. I didn't follow. I just removed myself from the account and made my own. New calendar. New routine. New life. I stopped responding to her check-in texts. Let them sit unread. When she asked why I hadn't replied, I blamed work stress. She didn't push. She'd stopped pushing months ago. Maybe because she didn't care. Or maybe because she didn't want me looking too closely at why she cared so little. Either way, the silence between us wasn't an accident anymore. It was mutual. And in that silence, I found something I didn't expect. Strength. Not loud, cinematic strength. Quiet, persistent, unshakable strength. The kind that doesn't need to be seen to be real. I wasn't leaving because she broke me. I was leaving because she didn't, and I finally knew who I was without her. She invited me on a Thursday. Her voice was light, casual, like it didn't matter either way. There's a work thing this weekend, she said, stirring her tea. It's just drinks and mingling. You know, networking. Would be nice if you came. She didn't look up when she said it, just kept swirling her spoon, watching the liquid spin. I nodded without thinking. Sure. That was the final page, and I knew it. My bags were packed at the apartment. The lease for the house was already switched to her name. The lawyer had everything he needed. I had played the role long enough. But I couldn't leave without one last thing. Closure? Maybe. But not the kind you beg for. I didn't want an apology or an argument or a sobbing confession. I just wanted to see it. See her be herself, unguarded, in her world. I needed to stand in the middle of it and know, without question, that I had made the right decision. And I needed her to know it too, without me ever saying a word. Saturday came. She spent hours getting ready. Hair curled, nails painted, heels higher than usual. She tried on 3 dresses before settling on a sleek black one I'd never seen before. Probably not new, but hidden. Saved for someone else. I watched from the doorway as she adjusted her earrings in the mirror, swaying to a song I couldn't hear. You look great, I said. She smiled, still not meeting my eyes. You clean up nice too. On the drive over, she scrolled through her phone like a teenager in the back seat. I asked who would be there, made small talk about her boss, her coworkers, the venue. She gave short, polite answers. Nothing more. Her mind was elsewhere, probably with him, probably wondering if he'd be there too. The party was at a rooftop bar downtown. Glass walls, hanging lights, free champagne. Everyone wore polished smiles and practiced laughter. Claire drifted into the crowd with the ease of someone who belonged there. I followed, silent, watching. She introduced me as Justin, my husband. And each time she said it, it sounded thinner, like she was reading it off a label. I shook hands, smiled, nodded. I was friendly, present, harmless, just what she needed me to be. The music pulsed low under conversations. Waiters glided between us like dancers. Claire floated from group to group, her laugh rising above the buzz. She looked alive. I watched her light up at compliments, brush shoulders with men who weren't me, lean in too close when she didn't have to. I wasn't angry. I was detached, like I was studying her, like I was watching the final act of a play I'd already read. At one point, I stood by the railing with a drink in my hand, watching the city flicker below. A man in a suit came up beside me, nodding toward Claire as she held court in the corner. She's good, he said, sipping his whiskey. Your wife. People love her. I smiled politely. Yeah, she's got a way of working a room. He chuckled. Some people are just built for it, you know? Eyes on them. Everything feels easy. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because just then, someone made a joke about relationships, something cliché about forgetting anniversaries. The group around Claire laughed. Then she lifted her glass and said it. Clear, loud, light-hearted. Mine doesn't even get jealous. I could come home with someone else and he'd still make me coffee. The group erupted. Laughter, clinking glasses. Someone repeated it like a punchline. I didn't laugh. I didn't smile. I just stood there watching her. She didn't look for me in the crowd. She didn't have to. That line wasn't about me. It was about the story she'd crafted. The image of the passive, clueless husband who didn't ask questions. The fool. The prop. The safety net. And I felt it then. Not shame, not rage, but a quiet, resounding end. That was her confession. Right there in front of everyone. Not through tears or trembling lips, but through a joke. Through the gleam in her eye and the casual cruelty of someone who thought she'd gotten away with it. I waited another 20 minutes. Said my polite goodbyes to a few people. No scene. No drama. No accusation. Claire was mid-conversation when I tapped her arm. I'm heading out, I said. She blinked. Already? I nodded. Long day. Thanks for inviting me. She leaned in, kissed my cheek. Drive safe. I smiled. Always. And then I left. No one followed. No one asked questions. No one knew that I was never walking back through that door again. On the way home, I didn't go to the house. I drove straight to the apartment. My keys were already in the bowl by the door. My bag was waiting, packed. I pulled off the jacket, loosened the tie, and sat on the edge of the bed. The silence was loud, but it was mine. I checked my phone. Nothing from her. No, thank you for coming. No, you left early. No questions. She didn't notice I was gone. Or maybe she assumed I'd be back. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was restless, but because I was awake in a way I hadn't been for months. Years, maybe. Awake to the lie I'd been living. Awake to the part I'd played in keeping it alive. I was the quiet husband, the dependable one, the background character, and she thought I'd stay there forever. She was wrong. The next morning, I did the final sweep. Called the utilities. Canceled the subscriptions. Transferred the title on the car. Changed my emergency contacts. Everything that still had her name on it was cleared. No shared streaming services. No grocery app. No his and hers anything. I printed out the documents and left them on the counter in a manila folder. No note. No message. Just facts. On the very top, I placed my wedding ring. Not thrown. Not dramatic. Just set there, clean and still like a period at the end of a sentence. I took one last look around the house. The couch we bought together. The wedding photo on the bookshelf. The blanket we argued about because it clashed with the rug. All of it now set dressing in a story I no longer belonged to. When I walked out the door, I didn't lock it. Didn't need to. She still had her key. I just didn't have mine anymore. I never responded to her texts. Not one. By the time she noticed I was gone, the papers were already with the lawyer, the lease transferred, and my name scrubbed from the house we used to share. I left no dramatic message. Just the ring on the shelf and silence. A week later, word got around. Claire had been fired. Turns out Lucas wasn't just a fling, he was a client. HR launched an investigation. Receipts. Flight records. Internal emails. She didn't just lose me. She lost everything she'd built. But I wasn't watching it happen for revenge. I wasn't watching at all. I had already walked away. Quietly. Completely. She collapsed without me lifting a finger. We saw each other once more. Signing papers at the notary's office. She looked smaller somehow. Tired. As if the consequences were finally catching up to her. She tried to hold my gaze. I didn't let her. I signed, nodded to the clerk, and walked out. No words. No closure. Just clean detachment. Later, in my new apartment, I thought of what she'd said at that party. He'd still make me coffee. That was her confession, hidden in a joke. But I never gave her the drama she expected. No scene. No begging. Just silence. And in that silence, she lost something she never thought she would me.